Okay, so the last real thing we want to talk about that we got to hit briefly is the difference between empirical formulas and molecular formulas. Believe it or not, empirical are probably the ones that you're now familiar with because we reduce the subscripts on those. So you basically always find the smallest number ratio of atoms in a compound. So notice here we have 2 carbon and 6 hydrogen. We would always reduce this down to CH3 because 2 goes into both 2 and 6, and we would reduce it down. Well, that is the empirical formula. It is just a reduced subscript. It's the lowest number of ratio of atoms in. There are certain rules that apply to finding the empirical formula. So you find the mass or percentage of each element. You find the moles of each element. You divide the moles by the smallest number to find the subscript. When necessary, multiply subscripts by 2, 3, or 4 to get a whole number, because you have to have a whole number for your subscripts. You can't use decimal points or fractions. And I know this probably doesn't make sense on what you're thinking, because the way we've been looking at it, you calculated things by oxidation and number and stuff, but a lot of experimental testing comes from that percent composition, and that's why there would be the discrepancy here. For instance, here's something where they were able to find something with nitrogen and oxygen, and they found out through a clinical test and a spectrometer that it had 25.9% nitrogen and 74.1% oxygen. Well, let's go ahead and say that we have 100 grams of whatever this compound is. If we have 100 grams of it, then that's 25.9 grams of our nitrogen and 74.1 grams of our oxygen. And that makes up 1 mole of nitrogen. Notice this is our stoichiometry with our mole conversion. 1 mole of nitrogen is 14.01. So that really means we're talking about, our grams would cancel out, 1.85 moles of nitrogen, right? So don't pay attention to this right now. Just notice that that's how we get the first part. We do the same thing with oxygen using our mole conversion, and we get it's 4.63 moles of oxygen. Now, whichever one of these numbers is smaller in your compound is the one that you're going to then divide both of them by. So this time we have less nitrogen, less moles of it, so it's 1.85. So we divide that, and that's going to give us a 1 there. It ends up giving us about 2.5 of oxygen. But that doesn't quite do it yet. So this is just how we get the number of each atom, of moles of each atom that we think we're going to use. But if we were going to write that compound, it would end up looking like this. It would end up looking like nitrogen 1, O2.5. And like I said, you can't do that right there where you have a decimal or a fraction. So that's where that multiplying comes into place. So now that we have this compound of 1 nitrogen and 2.5 oxygen, we have to use a multiplier in order to get it as both whole numbers. So 1 multiplied by anything will give us a whole number, and 2.5, if we just multiply it by 2, we'll also get a whole number. So we multiply it by 2, and we get that it is into 0.5. This also is the lowest that it will end up being whole numbers, and so it is the empirical formula. And that's where they get this, and that's how you use each of the steps. Now, the empirical formula is what we use most of the time because it seems to be your simplest recipe. It is reduced, and it is the proportions of like carbon to hydrogen here. The only thing is, nature doesn't always listen to the recipe. Well, it does, but it sometimes likes bigger quantities before it actually makes it. So we think of molecular formula as the true formula. It's the actual number of atoms in the compound. And if you've noticed this, some of the chemical formulas you have had a what seemed to be non-reduced molecule in it, such as this. And really that was just the molecular formula. And the reason is sometimes in nature things don't really want to be able to create just in a sole molecule like this. It needs to make bunches of them in order for it to actually work. And so when we talk about molecular formula, that's the one that we can actually find the mass of. We can actually like weigh it in a lab and get the actual mass of this molecule, even though this is the empirical formula because this is the base recipe for it. This is how it would appear more in nature. This is how much it ends up being. And we can do that through some simple rules. So we know how to find the empirical formula through a lot of different methods. You've done the empirical formula a lot of times. And because of what we know about moles and the periodic table, we can find the empirical formula's mass pretty easily. Now, let's suppose that we were in a lab and we managed to measure the molecular mass, so the actual mass of the molecule. Well, then we can go ahead and divide the molecular mass by the empirical mass, and we end up with a multiplier for our subscripts that we would get from that answer. So essentially you're taking your molecular mass, the clinically measured mass, divided by the mass of what we say the formula should have, and you get our N multiplier for your subscripts. And this is just what that would look like. So the empirical formula for ethylene is CH2, right? So if we find the molecular formula, if the molecular mass is measured at 28.1 grams per mole. So if we measure that and we find out that it's different from that because the empirical mass is only 14.03, if we look at the periodic table and take 1 carbon and 2 hydrogen, we get 14.03. So we simply divide the two and you get that it's 2 times. So that means we're going to multiply all of the subscripts by 2. So carbon has a subscript of 1 secretly. We multiply that by 2, so now it's C2. There were already 2 hydrogen, so that becomes a 4, so it ends up being C2H4. And that's the molecular formula for it this time. And I know that's a rough overview, but we pretty much run out of time, so that's what we're going to go with for this time. Hopefully this gave you a little bit of insight into some of the more complicated things you have to do in chemistry.